Testing 1, 2, 3.
Right there.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Yep, that's there.
I will. Welcome, everybody, to our 69th annual Kiwanis Rotary get-together. And thank God for all of his have lasted that long, so we could have this thing. All right, let's begin by having John Case do the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation by Len Yelney.
Every year about this time. God, every year about this time, according to routine, I bowed my head in an accepted way and offered thanks, like some well-synchronized machine. And offered thanks. And prayed beyond because it was time to pray. But God, this year is different. This year I seem to feel America's Thanksgiving is my own. That in my nation's gratitude, I have a part that's real. A part that until now I've never known. And God, this year, a deep humility has filled my heart. A newborn pride rings throughout my soul. Because I do not belong, because I have and I'm part, a tiny part of one tremendous whole. I think I know the feeling of those first Americans who said, we must give thanks for this, our land. I cherish now the rights that are each woman's, every man's, the rights I've just begun to understand. This year, my heart has learned what Thanksgiving days are for, true thankfulness. At last I realized, but God, I'm sorry that it took the tragedy of war in other lands to open up my eyes. Again, I bow my head, but this time, deep within me stirs a mighty prayer, part of one vast desire. God, help me make America as proud as I am of hers, as I am proud and grateful she is mine. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, man. Exceptional. All right, Howard Naylor is going to present a song for us. He told me that this is something different.
I'm going to ask you to sit down. But be prepared to stand up again, okay? So don't get too relaxed. Many, many years, we have sung this song or not. Time to be ignored because of its inherent. So the words of this statement by Francis Scott. In the War of 1812, was aboard a British warship. He was a lawyer, and he was working with a prisoner transfer. At the same time, the Fort McHenry was being bombarded by the British incessantly, and the commander of the ship told Francis, you cannot leave. You're going to have to stay the night. So Francis went up to the deck, and he was standing among the British officers and looking out there, and there it is in the harbor of Baltimore, Fort McHenry being pummeled by British ammunition and shells. And the sun was going down, so it was getting late at night. He decided to go ahead and go down to his quarters, which he did, and he got some sleep here and there. But he woke up early in the morning. He went up to to the deck again, and there were still plenty of British officers and men watching it. And he joined them as the sun came up over the horizon. And he looked out there and he said, "Oh, hey, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Those broad stripes and those bright stars, through this perilous fight for the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, they gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?" Now I'm going to ask you to stand and sing those words with me as I lead you.
Howard gets a big black here. Thank you, Howard. All right. Kiwanis Club in Las Vegas. We've been around. And we have several other schools. All of us spend months planning, organizing, not like the Salvation Army does. Benefit and give. Kiwanis in particular is to work with children, benefit them. I would like to, first of all, before I get into that, recognize Tony. Passed me there, and no one could see her, but Tony turned. She didn't make the purchase out there. I want to thank her. She's so delightful to work with. Such a great president. All right, these are past Kiwanians and county governors. Why do we mention them? Because it's a stint they take for a year. Some of them have been in it for 2 years. A lot of work for them. A lot of their own money as well. They do a lot of traveling, you get around and visit all the clubs, try to bring them together and start new ones. Let's start with David Dwyer. Up, Dave. He went outside. Okay. There's Dave. Hello, Dave. Hi. Christina von Lindbergh. Thank you. And she's from South America. She goes down to Argentina. Told me, I'm sorry. She goes there quite a bit. The light brings all the good things and pictures back. And we have Brian Laska. Now Brian's a bell stealer. Oh, Len Young. Len has done quite a bit. Thank you, Len. He's done quite a bit. Very involved in Purple Heart, and a lot of the military activities that won VA. Organized quite a bit of events. Lee Fisher. Round of applause for Lee. Thank you, Lee. And he's our tech. Pete Bowser. He's here? Okay. How about John Fenner? Where's John? Thank you, John. John has done quite a bit of work, retired military, he's ornery. That's all I can say about him. Jerry Pepper. Jerry. I want you to know that Jerry went to Ohio State. He's an Ohio grad. He loves Ohio State. First Michigan set. Who goes again? Ever so. Deborah's at PBS and he's worked along with great work. Howard Taylor. Howard brings legacy for current Lieutenant Governor. Thank you all for coming today. And Rotarians to come and attend this and see its input. Now I'd like to turn this over to Tony.
Too short, so I can't do that. I would like to thank Bill and Harold and other foreigners for helping me, because watching this for the past several years as a member sitting out there, no idea what goes on to make all this happen. So thank you to you both and the rest of the Kiwanians, and what a great representation. So thank you for making this easier for me. So today I would like to thank those individuals from the Las Vegas Rotary Club that helped make this meeting happen and get it organized in such a way that things seem to flow. One person that has not gotten specifically thanked, who really does it all, is Sean Norton, without whom we don't do this. For those others who did set up, Kathy Mahan, Bob Werner, our greeters, Larry Goldstein, Sean Sennett. And Sean, unfortunately, everybody keeps wondering if you're actually you or if you're Eric Schmoller. So I don't know what to say. Our table greeter, KK, Nikki Junior. Photographer, past president Jim Tucker. Our scribe today, John Pally. Our AV team, David Jones and Stu Lipoff. Thank you all. Have no idea who's going to help clean up because I never got that name. And Nancy Anderson is our Sergeant at Arms today. So thank you to all of you. While we are doing our thank yous, I was dumbfounded. The gentleman walked up to me and I did not know who he was, and he handed me an envelope. When I opened it, I was in shock. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Jay Schultz and his wife, Diane, for their generous donation. This is the second year of $15,000 to the Las Vegas Rotary Club. Thank you both. The generosity and the philanthropy is just beyond. So thank you. We are most grateful. Going on today, Nancy, we have some guests of Rotarians. If you would go to Liz Rothwell, please. I'll get you the spelling of the names that I just read you. My parents, not me. Welcome. We have Lynn going this direction. She, our newest member, she has brought two guests as well. Hi. Elizabeth, that's Canada. Here, with her sister and her son, Joshua McMurray, Canadian American businessman, and you probably see him. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We also have a guest of the club, Melanie. You introduce.
Hello, we have Farah Dolan, who is an epidemiologist who is here for her first visit.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. You've come at a great opportunity to see something very special, Vera. Are there any other guests of Rotarians that we did not acknowledge? Do I see a hand anywhere? Okay, then let's get on to the announcements that we have. I'd like to start with Antoinette Monroe. The tree trimming and your meeting coming up and graduation.
We're going to introduce Michael first.
Michael? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, that's okay, Tony. I'd like everybody to meet Michael that hasn't already. You might recognize him from our different events or the wonderful performance that he gave for our Wine to Water event. Michael is owner of Jack Section and special events.
Welcome, Michael, and I apologize. Now you can do your announcement.
Yeah, great. So we have a lot of fun things different than normal on different days. We have our tree trimming. We're decorating a tree with auctioned off. That at my home at 6 p.m. Our theme is peace. So please come out, join us. The next type of meeting will be a different day than normal. First day, the second Thursday. That's Howard is the gracious enough. So please bring there and the chief.
Don't forget, you can sign up in the Green Book for a number of these events. If you go next, please, to Rosalie Hedrick for a wrap-up of our VIP tour. Oh, mouthful.
Sorry. So we did the UNLV Black Fire Tour. Very interesting. There was a little bit of downscale on it than what we expected because they were kind of in the process of making some changes and renovations. However, it was very enlightening to see these new inventions that come about, and some of them flop and some of them go forward. So we had a great turnout. We had 22 people. We charged $25, so that funds goes to our foundation. And they have a great venue for hosting events. They're going to have a catering facility there along with students cooking with a full kitchen coming. So hopefully in the future, we can host an event there and they welcome us back when they get all their renovations done. So maybe we'll have a second tour as well.
Thank you. Once again, I skipped over the most important thing. I would like to welcome two of our Salvation Army gentlemen, Ryan and Kim. Ryan is a member of Kiwanis Club. Kim, I don't recall if he's actually a member of a club or just with the Salvation Army. So welcome. And at our head table, I would like to introduce Major Harold Laubach. He is the newest, I don't know, leadership for the Salvation Army this year. So welcome. And also at our head table, we have Bill, of course, Rossimo, President. We have John Pace. We have our speaker, Benjamin, and Director Nikki Bates. So welcome to all of you, and I'm sorry I forgot to introduce the head table. Okay, back to the announcements. The announcements for today. Our holiday party is going to be December 7th. That will be in the evening, same day we do our Santa Claus, which means we will not have a regular Thursday meeting of the Las Vegas Rotary Club. If you have not yet signed up, sign up in the Green Book, email Sean. Next up, Jim Cole, you are here for Santa Claus.
Good afternoon, President Tony, my fellow Rotarians, and our honored guests, Kiwanians. This December 2nd, we're going to do backpack stuffing for Santa Claus. That'll be done at the Boy Scout Area Council, and we're giving them books that were donated by Dr. Nikki Bates. We also have dental kits for them, and they're going to get a sports ball and some popcorn from the Boy Scouts. And then the following week, which you just mentioned, Santa Claus, we'll be shopping at all the 3 J.C. Penney's. And thereafter, we're going to take it down to the Area Council again. And even though the athletes set up PlayStations for us. It's going to be a great time. Invite all the Kiwanians to come and shop with us. If you would like to help shop for a kid, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. You arrive at the one of the 3 J.C. Penney's here in town, and we'll get partnered up. If you could just be so kind as to reach out to either Tony or myself or Sean to let us know that you're coming. That'd be fantastic. And finally, if you're bringing other volunteers with you, they have to be over the age of 18 years old. So just so you know. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Past President Jim. We've got 3 more. Each of you get a minute or less. Next up, Past President Jim Hunt, please. Got 2 things, so you might get to speak.
Thank you, President Tony. Yeah, first a recap on our cigar social that we had on November 9th at Dan and Tammy Adamson's home. It was fantastic. We had 37 people. Thank you to all those who donated raffle prizes. We raised a little over $1,000 for that particular one. And in total now, there are 28 cigar socials. We've raised $25,193.72. Not bad. I also want to just say a little bit about our efforts with our wheelchair delivery. John Williams is not unfamiliar to the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club. He's provided great service to both, which we should all be very thankful for. He's provided thousands of wheelchairs to the Nevadans over the last 20 years. During the pandemic, he asked me if I put together a team where we could deliver wheelchairs to those who need one and can't afford one to their homes, because some of them just simply can't pick it up. About an hour and a half ago, I got a text from John's wife, Heidi. I just want to share this with our Kiwanis friends, that to ask you to keep in mind, if you hear of someone in need of a wheelchair that can't afford one, please reach out to John so he can get it to us and deliver it. We have a 13-year-old boy who speaks Spanish. His family speaks Spanish, not any English, that we're putting together a delivery today and this weekend. He's 13 years old. His wheelchair was in his parents' car that got stolen. So they not only don't have a car, he doesn't have his wheelchair, and they're using the bus. So please keep in mind, I mean, this is the beautiful thing about our 2 clubs. For somebody who's gotten to enjoy about 33 of these lunches with our Kiwanis friends, we don't have a competition. We're in the same business, and we love you, and we want to work together with you. So please keep that in mind, and thanks for being here.
Thank you both for what you do. Next would be Stu Lipoff, please.
Thank you, President Tony. Attorney, yes. Trying to do what Rotary did here. So, so we are looking for club members to volunteer with the breakfast at Beckley Elementary School. It's going to be at 7:15 a.m. on Tuesday, December 5th. Good news is you'll be finished in less than 2 hours. This program is a joint collaboration between our clubs. Spread the word to bottom. I find the program particularly heartwarming because having each child required to be joined by at least one or two parents demonstrates to the child that they have a parent who cares for their education by willing to invest their time. The duties will be to assist each child and their parents each to pick a book to take home. But some club members will also assist in handing out a few spots, snacks, some food to take home. Beckley is a very short ride from the Flowery on East Beverly Road, 2 blocks from the city. You can sign up for the physical green book, or you can sign up anytime for the virtual green book. QR code program.
Thank you. And for our newer members, it's a Breakfast with Books program that is part of the sponsorship and support that the Las Vegas Rotary Club provides because we support Beckley Elementary. So that's one of the programs that we do quarterly there. So thank you for that. And last on our list, Michael Williams, our Magical Forest at Opportunity Village.
Raise your hand if you've been to the Magical Forest. We get to help out since December the 18th. You show up at 5 o'clock, see me. We was there last year. It was a fun event. If you're not in the Christmas spirit, you will be. And just as a side note, Opportunity Village, those people I taught in my classroom about stuff like decades. One of the things they used to do, which they don't do anymore because Elvis is not with us anymore, they used to make these scarves. And every night, if you saw Elvis on his lucky tender, make these scarves and touch yourself. They're lined up on stage and stuff. For a good cause. So why not?
Sign up in the Green Book, virtual or otherwise. And with that, President Phil, you want to do some fellowship until it's time for our speaker? All right then.
Thank you very much. One of the activities that I was involved in. How we got that. I forgot to mention C.T. Wang as a lieutenant governor. My apologies for that. Thank you, C.T. And C.T.'s a retired Air Force. All our C.T. jets. And he sort of jettisoned our year. Lieutenant governor. He's quite a talent. Now, my apologies. So, as I was saying, we've done a lot of similar activities that you have. We did our most recent box packing Christmas for children overseas. That's been our annual. We've also packed the troops during the holidays. And for what we can do as a group, we do the best. We do our Zooming a couple times a month. We do have an interesting Zoom coming up in January where a group reached out to us, and actually it's a Chinese group, and they would like to talk to us about what China's doing to America. So we can't wait to hear that. That's in January 12th. All right. Enough said. We have a speaker today, and I was honored to get him from UNLV. And he came in with the idea that his family's around, that he was willing to come in and talk to us. about securities and law. He's been over at, for the past 3 years over at UNLV School of Law, Boyd School of Law. And his history is quite busy. He's a researcher in business and security law, corporate governance, arbitration, and consumer protection. And prior to teaching, Professor Edwards practiced as a securities litigator in the New York office of Skadden, Arp State, Meager and Florin, LLP, in New York. And so he's quite, for a young guy, he's done an awful lot of things. I would like to introduce Benjamin Edwards. Round of applause to Professor Edwards.
Got a little slide deck for you, so I'm gonna let them get that set up. Okay. All right. So I've got some securities law news for you, here today. So hopefully this is helpful, and we can get these slides to advance. Let's see if I got this. Here we go. So I am making all these remarks in my personal capacity and not on behalf of the university. So please don't hold them responsible for anything I say. Hello to everyone watching by Zoom. You're up. So when I was thinking about what to do with this talk, my first thought was I could probably tell you where I'm going to go, what I want to cover. So I want to do a quick thank you, and then I want to tell you things that I think are really critical for you to know. And after that, because it's interesting to me, I would like to talk about the SEC's, the Securities and Exchange Commission's new proposed rule on predictive data analytics. And because that sounds very boring, I'm also going to talk about fly fishing. Okay, let's see if this keeps working. Fortunately not. Go. All right, so first, so thank you. We've been, I guess, doing this, or you've been doing this for 69 years, which is phenomenal. It's absolutely incredible. The food drive you do makes a real difference in the lives of so many people. Food insecurity is a major problem across the United States and in our community, and it's wonderful that you're doing something about it. I also want to thank you for bringing me to Lowry's. Always love coming here. Love the seasoning and the prime rib. And so thank you to Phil and Tina, and just incredibly grateful for the opportunity to come talk to you. So I was wondering, well, why did they want me to talk? And the reason was I talked to this reporter at the Wall Street Journal about zero-day options trading. And essentially the article was looking at this new trend where people are trading options on their own, in their own accounts, through Robinhood and these other apps, and they'll buy options that expire by the end of the day. So they've got to do a lot of frenetic trading activity with those options if they're going to do anything with it. In my view, is that when you're looking at an option that expires that day, for most people, it's really indistinguishable from gambling. So I'm hoping that none of you are doing this because it's very irresponsible and it's a good way to blow up your retirement account. So don't do that. What you probably want to do is work with someone who's a financial advisor. And a lot of the law I teach and work on is focused on the law governing financial advice. So I wanted to just run through a real quick overview of the different people you may meet out there who will call themselves financial advisors. And so they may wear different hats. They may wear all three of these hats. So you're going to have stockbrokers, insurance producers who are selling insurance products, and also registered investment advisors. So these are all different roles, and they owe different duties and different obligations depending on who you're interacting with. Okay, so stockbrokers. These folks are generally the registered representatives of brokerage firms. A brokerage firm has liability and responsibility for the things their agents do when they give you advice. So if a broker gives you advice and recommends to you that you do something, the brokerage firm may have some liability if it turns out that advice is not right for your situation or wasn't in your best interest. The SEC has a regulation in this space called Regulation Best Interest, and it recognizes that conflicts of interest exist in this space. Stockbrokers are generally compensated with what we call differential transaction-based compensation. That's a fancy way of saying they get paid based on what product they sell you. So some products pay more than others, and if they've got their own kids to think about, that's a conflict of interest. They might want to push you into something that pays them a little bit more because, well, it pays them a little bit more. So that's the business model, and it's important that you know it. If you're working with a stockbroker, it doesn't mean they don't give good advice or the advice is not going to be appropriate for your situation, but you just want to be aware of. So insurance producers, these folks generally sell insurance products, and unless they have a securities license, they're not legally supposed to give you any advice about your securities, to say your stocks and your bonds or mutual funds or other things that'll be in your securities. They're regulated under state law, and generally, both states now have enacted the National Association of Insurance Best Interest Regulation. It sounds a lot like the SEC's Best Interest Regulation, but there's a big difference. The SEC considers the amount of money the stockbroker is getting paid for recommending a particular product to be a conflict of interest. The NAIC definition explicitly excludes the amount they're getting paid in the definition of conflict of interest. It strikes me as very bizarre, but you want to be aware that they're regulated differently, and they get paid different amounts depending on which product it is to buy. Registered investment advisors. So these are folks that owe a fiduciary duty. Also, they've got an obligation to give you advice that is in the best interest. They are usually compensated based on how many assets under management you have with them. So we're thinking about, if you give them a percentage off your entire account. So they usually don't have an incentive to recommend one product over the other. They tend to make more money when you make money. So all of these folks are often very good to work with, good people, but they just have different business models. So with that in mind, I want to give you what I think is the most critical and biggest investor protection tip I have for you, is that you want to do a little basic due diligence on any financial advisor before you work with them. And it's not hard to do. You can do it from your cell phone, assuming you have a data plan. So all you have to do is go to this website called BrokerCheck and look at it. You want to type their name in. If they don't show up, you want to get very nervous. Because if they're giving you advice about securities or they're trying to sell you investments and they're not registered, it's probably a fraud. So you want to work with somebody who's registered. You're just not allowed to work in this industry if you're not registered. And I also want to show you how to dig just a little bit deeper to find out stuff that you might not otherwise. Okay, so the BrokerCheck website, it's on FINRA's website. If you just Google BrokerCheck, it's very, very easy to find. And you can type in the individual's name, you can look up the firm, and you should be able to find the financial professional. So this will help you get access to information about registered investment advisors and stockbrokers. You're not always going to find insurance people here, but they're not selling securities, so they're not going to show up on BrokerCheck. Okay, so check them out on BrokerCheck, and you may see interesting things. So I have pulled up the record of a one Mr. Van Winkle. And if you look at his disclosures here, you can see in my relatively low resolution slide, he has 7 different disclosures on his record. Generally, the more disclosures you see, the more nervous you should be. So if you look through those, I realize that it's hard to read from here, but you can see a regulatory problem, It says employment separation after allegations. That's a fancy way of saying he's probably fired or told he should move along. Customer disputes have been settled. Now, it could be that he's an honest guy and all these people are complaining for no valid reason. That can happen. But do you want to put your one retirement with that man? So you want to be very careful. Okay, so the broker check website is very useful and can give you a quick, useful information. But there's also a problem in that the database it draws from has it's had a lot of information deleted in the last 5-10 years because there's been an expungement process that stockbrokers have been able to take advantage of to have complaints deleted. Now, the challenge is stockbrokers should have a good way to get rid of bogus complaints. They shouldn't have to have that chase them around for the rest of their careers. But on the other side, there's a lot of useful information that the public probably wants to know that probably shouldn't be deleted. And the challenge is the process for deleting that information, well, it's dumb. So they don't do a good job of vetting whether or not the information should be there or not be there. It's decided in arbitration. And usually it's an arbitration between the broker and the brokerage firm. And the broker wants the information deleted, and the brokerage firm also wants the information deleted. So you can see what happens. 90% of the time, information gets deleted. So the way you check to see if there's something you can't see on BrokerCheck is you go to the arbitration award database. So if you search FINRA arbitration awards, it should pop up pretty quickly. This is the website. It'll look something like that. You can type in your advisor's name, and you can get a sense about whether or not they've had complaints deleted. Now, I showed you Mr. Van Winkle. He had 7 disclosures on his record. If you went into the arbitration database and you look to see what kinds of complaints he's had expunged, you might find, which I did here, that he had another 24 complaints deleted. And the 24 customer complaints were deleted for what I think is a very dumb reason. So essentially, the arbitrator who decided this found that the reason why he gave bad advice to 24 different customers is that the insurance company who had this very long prospectus describing the product, and they made changes over the years, and he just kept recommending it without understanding what the changes meant or what happened. Now, the insurance company wasn't in the room to talk about this. And the actual law here is that if you're a stockbroker, you're supposed to know what you're talking about. So if you don't know what the product is that you're selling, that's a problem. And it shouldn't be deleted from the record. But you have bad decisions like this, deleting a lot of information that would otherwise be available. So if you look someone up and their broker check record is clear, and you look and you see they have a complaint that was deleted through the expungement process, it might mean really nothing. But statistically, a friend of mine did some research at Stanford, and what she found was that if you know nothing else about a stockbroker, but they've had an expungement, they're 3 times more likely than the average stockbroker to attract future customer complaints. You don't want to be the future customer. So do your diligence, be careful. You want to figure out if there's any reason not to work with someone so you can do a better job protecting yourself and those in your team. So here, just a little basic due diligence is really helpful. Okay, so that's all very critical. All right, so this brings me to the SEC's predictive data analytics rule. So this is a brand new rule the SEC is proposing, and the idea here is the SEC wants to make it so that brokerage firms can't use technology to get you to do things that are more in their interest than yours. So if you think about who here has a Facebook account? Do you ever spend more time on it than you should? Is it kind of addictive? Same with Instagram, Threads, all these new applications. So it's all lots of technology driving. So the industry is very opposed to this rule. So what I'm showing you here is 2 interactions on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Vlad Tenev is the CEO of Robinhood. a company or brokerage firm that allows you to trade for free on your phone. So you can trade stock through Robinhood, very easily. And Robinhood doesn't like this rule. And Mr. Musk is also opposed to it. He thinks our civilization is being strangled to death by regulation. So the predictive data analytics rule essentially says that the Robinhood shouldn't be using technology to get people to make trades they probably shouldn't. So what you should understand about a lot of these firms is if they're not in the business of sending a financial advisor to give you recommendations, and they just allow you to make trades on your own, they make money by getting people to trade, and the more people trade, the more money they make. They have what's called a payment for order flow business model. So essentially, if they get you to trade more, they make more money, even if trading more is not necessarily in your interest. So when you're making your own decisions about what to buy and sell, I think you should know how they get paid. So if you buy, say, stock in IBM or ordinary companies, and you just buy ordinary equity shares, they're going to get, say, 20 cents for every 100 trades or 100 shares. If you buy options, which are a different product, they get 40 cents for every 100. Which one do you think they want you to trade more of? It's really easy to see. They make more money when you trade more options. And options tend to expire, so you've got to keep buying and selling them. So they make more money and there's more activity there. So they have a strong interest in designing the application or nudging you in little ways to get you to do these things that make them more money. So this brings me to fly fishing. So you are the trout here. It's important to understand that they are trying to tie a perfectly crafted lure, pull you into options trading or pull you into trading cryptocurrency. And these are all your own decisions, but the app is often designed in such a way to make these choices a little bit more attractive to you. And ultimately, that's what this rule is about. And what I think you will always want to be very careful about is that you don't want to end up getting hooked on something that's better for them than it is for you. So for Robinhood, they've said in their securities filings that machine learning technology and being able to aggressively feature news and information that drives positive user experience in particular ways is one of their most critical technologies. It's how they juice their profits. But the danger here is you should not be a fish. So you don't want brokerages to be able to lure you and bait you around into these kinds of things. So be careful if you're working with a financial advisor. Oftentimes they're wonderful people, very useful. Do some diligence and make sure that they have a clean record. So with that, should I open it up for questions? Absolutely.
Lately, there's been a lot of news about two specifically, but probably a lot more in regards to cryptocurrency problems, home problems. What is the latest SEC counter to these situations where these founders, so to speak, are going a little bit left of where they should be going?
So a lot of times the SEC doesn't have much of a role in controlling or pushing back on the operational decisions that companies will make or founders will make. Their interest is it's a very disclosure-focused agency. So the way they see the world is that investors should be able to make their own decisions as long as they are accurately describing what they're doing and what their plans are. You are allowed to invest in all sorts of dumb things, and people do. So it's a free country, and you're free to lose an enormous amount of money.
So two things. What are they doing to bait and lure you in? Like,
Okay,
are they showing you ads or?
So things that will happen. So if you open up a lot of these apps, say Robinhood or Webull or some of these others, they'll have features or like today's news update. And the first thing they'll show you is crypto updates. And the next thing they'll show you is updates about the options market. And the structure is there so that the thing that you pay attention to first is the thing they want you most interested in. Another thing they'll do is they'll push out educational content, which sounds great. I'm here to help educate people, but a lot of times the educational content is sort of designed to get people to feel just comfortable enough to start trading options. It's not designed to help them understand the risks or understand everything. So,
And the second question is about cryptocurrency and its long-term liability. So I have heard that there is, I can't remember what country it is, they were already leaning to going towards a completely electronic currency, getting rid of coins and dollar bills. And I can see the United States going there at some point, but if the federal government decides to have their own crypto, it would obviously make illegal all other existing cryptocurrencies, which would change the market, I would think. So how do you see these different Bitcoins and all these things surviving if we transition to an electronic currency system?
So, for my part, I don't see the United States as being likely to ban the trading of all forms of other cryptocurrency, even if it were to create its own, if it were to transition to dollars to a cryptocurrency. My general view on the product is, because say you like Netflix and like using Netflix and like the stock, you could figure out how much Netflix might be worth if other people didn't like the stock. You could buy up the Netflix stock and then you'd own Netflix, which has a lot of media content, it has a big revenue stream, you own something. But a lot of cryptocurrency, if other people lost interest in it, there's no asset there that you could ever take control of. So I always encourage people to be very careful about trading cryptocurrency. You cannot value it in any kind. Oftentimes they tend to lose all that.
I have a question for you. So I hear people say, financial advisors, other people, they say, I'm a fiduciary. And then they explain fiduciary means that they have your best interest in mind. And so they have to look out for your best interest above their own. So can you explain the fiduciary and why people say they're a fiduciary and what that really means?
Okay, of course. So fiduciary is a kind of a fancy sounding word, but if you think about why people name their dog Fido, it's because the dog is supposed to be loyal. And generally when we think about fiduciary duties in the law, we break it down into two parts. So we think about a loyalty obligation and a care obligation. So the loyalty obligation, it's really that they're going to put your interest ahead of theirs. And the care obligation is that they're supposed to be behaving with giving you advice or managing your assets like a reasonably prudent person would in managing their own affairs. And so fiduciary duty is an incredibly dense and expansive concept, but generally what you're looking for is loyalty and care. So sometimes registered investment advisors or others will sometimes try to limit their fiduciary duties through disclosures. The famous Supreme Court case here is SEC v. Capital Gains, which I'm sure you all wanted to know. But there, the Supreme Court said that the obligation for a registered investment advisor is to eliminate or at least disclose all conflicts of interest that they might have. So sometimes, when you're working with a fiduciary, you want to read the disclosures to understand what the conflicts are, if any. And if they're not disclosing them, that's when the SEC will come after them.
Hi, thanks for coming and talking to us. Just recently, we saw a record fine led by the SEC against Binance, and I saw that they filed against Kraken. Do you foresee regulation coming from Congress or bodies of case law applying regulatory oversight over cryptocurrencies?
I know there's been a lot of interest in Congress putting a regulatory framework in place for cryptocurrency. Whether that'll get through in the near term, I don't know. I think the collapse of the FTX exchange sort of, it drained a lot of the blood, from what was going on. A lot of venture capital firms, which had been investing heavily in crypto, are no longer doing that. So whether there'll still be as much activity there, I don't know. It's just so hard to predict.
This is a multi-pronged question. Deals with CBDCs, central bank digital currency. In March of last year, Executive Order 14067 was issued, directing the Feds and the Treasury to look into what I call the viability of a central digital currency, central bank digital currency. So my question is based, what does that affect, if that becomes law, what does that affect on my dollar and all the other dollars? And then two, is that legal, constitutional? Because as I read the Constitution, Congress is responsible for currency, coining currency. So how can an executive order direct CBDCs, which is a currency?
Oh boy. So I tend to focus on securities regulation, less banking reg. I've got some colleagues who specialize in that. On the administrative law side, whether or not it's legal, it's going to depend on what authority Congress gave the president to issue those kinds of orders. So it's kind of a complex question, and I don't know the answer to it off the top. My sense is that the dollar in the United States is not currently backed by gold or anything like that at the present. So from an operational perspective, we just want to be sure that we know the number that's out there and have some sense about who's able to create dollars.
I have a friend who does this. He calls it puts, and he does it every day, and he's seems to be making money at it. I don't exactly understand it. When he tells me, I don't even want to listen to it. So is that something I should listen to?
Okay. So what I think here is so if you think about options, so there's often two main kinds people will talk about: call options and put options. Now, one way to think about it is if the stock price goes up, and you want to be able to buy a call option on something at say 60 and it's trading at 50. If it goes to 70, you want to exercise it because it's a $10 in the money. Your put option works the opposite way, where you have the ability to sell something at a particular price. So essentially, you're buying a form of insurance on the stock that if it goes down, you'll be able to sell it at that higher price. So if the stock's trading at 50 and it goes to 25, and you have a $50 put option, you can force somebody else to buy it for 50, even though you bought it for 25. Now, the tricky thing is, how do you know what the market is going to do, and you don't? So for some people, they've had some success with it. Some people haven't. I've had too many investors call me upset because they've lost all their savings, and there's nothing I could do. This one fellow, he found this particular product that had been performing well over the past year, and he studied it very closely over the past year, and came up with this plan for how he was going to make a lot of money. And he put everything on that plan. It's essentially options trading. And then the market did something it hadn't done in the prior year, but he studied, and he blew up his retirement account. And I had to tell him, buddy, nobody recommended this. If a stockbroker told you to do this, we'd go get him. But nobody told you to do this. So it's really hard to hold the brokerage firm responsible for letting you make bad decisions. Again, it's a free country, and people are free to do all sorts of dumb things in the securities markets, and it happens far too often.
Yeah. My other question is, I had asked the stockbroker to buy me 1,000 shares of Facebook when it came out, and I never looked into these things. And a year later, I asked him, how is it doing? And he forgot to buy it. and I did not know what to do, so I didn't do anything. So was there something I could have done?
Uh, so, so generally, stockbrokers have what's called a duty of best execution. If you give them an order, they have an obligation to carry it out to the best of their ability. Whether you would have had anything actionable there, you need to speak to an attorney. Generally, your time for doing anything about it is going to be about 6 years. So if more time than that has passed, odds are low.
Yes, my question would be, it seems to me if you look at the old school, let's say, Benjamin, there was emphasis on valuation. And if you look on YouTube, you see Warren Buffett, lecturing business students about, one student stands up and says, what is the intrinsic value of this asset? And he proceeds to say, well, the intrinsic value is equal to the future cash flow discounted back as present value, and all those future cash flows go out to judgment day. Goes into judgment day. And of course, that's somewhat imprecise, but in my view, it's the best tool that you actually have. And so why isn't it that you don't see more of that embraced in the security?
So the securities laws themselves reflect a very strong view that people like you should be free to make those decisions yourself and focus on disclosure. So long as they are disclosing their numbers in an accurate way, investors have the ability to do that. So where they really get into trouble under the federal securities laws, they make statements about their earnings or the revenues that aren't true. And that's where you get the big securities fraud lawsuits. Well, thank you.
We have a couple of things to get, Ben, for coming today. We've been quite, quite generous with this time. I know they keep you busy over there, and as you heard, types of things he does is fairly complicated. He simplified a lot of us who are out there looking at what we're investing in. Thank you very much for that. This is our certificate of appreciation from the Kiwanis of Las Vegas. And we also want to include a flashlight for you. So if you ever feel like you get in the dark, flash a light on it. Oh, you're welcome.
And on behalf of the Las Vegas Rotary Club, we would like to provide you with our Salute to Service Award, which is represents a donation made in your name to the USO Family Support Services programs. Thank you so much for your time.
Going to tell us the good news and the bad news. But he has the numbers from Rotary, right? Okay. And these are the numbers for Kiwanis. And you can go ahead and take it away.
All right. So everyone knows this doesn't reflect in any negative way on your club, right? Just saying that right now. So Kiwanis Club, there can total 75,556 cans, right? Is that amazing? It is. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kiwanis Club. And Rotary can count 333,305 hands. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the Rotary Club. Thank for both clubs. Obviously, we can't do it without you. You know, they mentioned earlier about food insecurity, and after that amazing speech about investments and stuff like that, I think currently, would you consider our current climate volatile? Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I agree. I agree. So, and I think that is, I think that's countrywide. I think that's worldwide. I think that's for every person, whether you're investing in options or whether you're investing in stocks or whether you're not investing in the market at all, right? I think our economy would be considered volatile at this point. And therefore, that kind of chaos, for the lack of a better word, creates all kinds of food instability in our community. It does. That's just the way it is. So without donations from Kiwanis, without donations from Rotary, the Salvation Army can't continue to offer offices all over Southern Nevada where we help with utility assistance and rental assistance and food boxes and Thanksgiving and Christmas toy programs. We can't continue to do that without your help. All I can say from here is thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Major. Yeah. I know when I drive past the Salvation Army and Catholic Charities at nighttime, that's a somber picture, very much so. So thank you, everybody, for your donations and the cans. Huh?
I just have one word to say. Welcome to Southern Nevada and welcome to this opportunity. We look forward to seeing you again next year here. Well, yeah, we know that, but I mean, for this joint thing, for this whole joint thing, it's a wonderful way for you to start.
We tried to get him before they did, but she offered him much better. Like, right, did you? Let it go. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right. So that's it. I think, yeah. Yeah, we did. Huh? The bell. All right, but I just want to say that that I thank everyone for coming. I can't say that enough. And for Kiwanians to give up their time and energy to come, thank you very much.
We enjoy hosting. Next year, the Rotary Club will be leading this and the Kiwanians will join us, but thank you for handling all of this. And for all of you, may you have a blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you, Tony. He's wonderful.